Well, I've been watching different Christian testimonies tonight, and I decided to record my own. Um, I have also written a book. It's called The See Through Veil with iUniverse Publishing, and I just wanted to tell my own story. And, with me, it really starts, I want to say, 10 years ago. But throughout my life, I've always had premonitions, dreams, like visions, things before things would happen. I have a story as to that. In fact, I'll speak about later on. But what had really happened, this is after graduating from a school here in Mobile, Alabama. It's called Blue Cliff Career College, and I graduated to be a massage therapist. Didn't really like that because, I'm young. I'm thinking, you graduate and you just do, lift off. Things come immediate. 8 hours, two clients, then they're trying to touch on you, right? And then they're still trying to teach you how to do what you've already been taught to do on your job. And I'm just thinking, this ain't what I thought. Too much pride is what I'm trying to say here. And anyway, I had a suicide attempt. Today I just say I was a spoiled brat, really, and a rebel. And ended up on something called SSI. And at this point in time, moved into some low-income apartments. Had a boyfriend of 3 years, named Tim, and came home, and he was high and throwing my clothes all over the place, my drawers in and out, throwing my clothes all over. And there were 3 men sitting on my couch. And I'm looking at this whole scene and I'm thinking, what is going on here? And that's where I met the daddy of my child today, Brandolyn Rose. She's very beautiful. She's doing good. Straight A's and B's, dancer. But anyway, so to move the story on, I met a man and he told me, you need to get rid of the boyfriend because what he is doing, he's high on something called crack cocaine. So I told Tim, I just got into this apartment. You're going to make me lose my apartment. You got to get out of here. I never knew him to do drugs, personally, honestly, until I came home from working at Subway, and he was high and, throwing my clothes all over the place. But anyway, so I met a man at this point in time, and he was the one that convinced me to leave Tim, which I did. I didn't want to lose my apartment. I didn't want to have to go back home. He love bombed me. Very narcissistic type character. Anyway, but so we start dating, and not too long after that, I'd already had people, coming around me trying to get me involved with drugs, and stuff like this. And I kept saying, no, I'm not interested in that. But this one in particular night, I was already with Billy at this point, and he was living with me pretty much. And he was sitting at the counter, with a friend of his, and he had a pipe. And he said, here, try this. And I said, well, okay. I kind of finally caved in and did it. And immediately, as soon as I had smoked that pipe, slid down the wall thinking, what did you just do to me? And, anyway, not too long after I became pregnant. And the whole time I was pregnant, I never touched a drug, never drank, nothing. I'm very proud of that. You know, that's the only normal thing to do. You know, if you ask me, you don't do drugs, you don't drink when you're pregnant. Um, you have to be considerate that, you know, of another human life that didn't ask to be brought into this world. So, um, after she was born, you know, because I really left home too young, didn't know how to drive, nothing. I had finished school. I had people get me to my job, you know, as a matter of fact, you know, any times I had worked. But after she was born, you know, just not really being ready to be a mother, I had gotten back on drugs. And again, my drug of choice was cocaine and crack cocaine and drinking, you know, like to drink. And again, I'm talking about my rebel years. Because today, you know, I'm having to get a GED all over again. Come to find out, my high school diploma was never state accredited. So I'm having to do everything, you know, just reconstruct my life, you know, from scratch, basically. And anyway, so let's see, where am I going with this? I want to talk about when me and her daddy were living in a house that we rented, and this was off Moffett Road in Mobile, Alabama, and little brick home we were renting. And he liked to, in particular, go in the back room to get high. Again, my daughter at this point is born. She's living with my mother. She's been there basically since she's been a child. Very little, very, very little baby. And so anyway, you know, and that's where she needs to be for now. But he likes to go in that back room and get high, and he wanted me to join him. You know, he liked for me to join him in it. And so one night we had gotten really, really high and looked over into the hallway and saw about 3 or 4 black silhouette forms walking around each other, like in confusion. And immediately, you know, I looked at him, and his facial expression was just kind of like, you know, scared to death. And I took my arm, that's when I took my arm and shielded him, you know, and I look over at these things, you know, and I'm like, what am I looking at? You know, I'm looking at some demons, you know, and ghosts, something. I knew what they were. I'd seen them when I was a child, one. But anyway, so after I had taken my arm and shielded him, it kind of just went, you know, and was gone. And I'm thinking, what just happened here? You know, very odd, but it happened. And I know it happened because if it didn't happen, he wouldn't have looked afraid, and he'll admit it to this day. You know, I have other videos online of, you know, the paranormal events that we experienced, but you know, I had like premonitions as well in this home, that we were going to get kicked out. And, you know, the next day the landlady was sitting at our table, you know, you'll need to go. The electricity was cut off. You know, I'm talking about taking water from your neighbor's spigots and taking, you know, quick scrub downs. I mean, it got very bad. You know, drugs are of the devil, right? They are. And trying to think what else I want to talk about. Oh, I had a dream of my daughter being taken away from me permanently by men into a dark room, and she was screaming for her mother. One night when we had gotten high in that back room, I actually left my body because we got so high. And I kid you not, the Virgin Mary, the Holy Mary, was in the backyard outside of the window weeping which, I realized today I was having a vision and that she was weeping for me being a sinner, in sin. There goes my hand shaking. I apologize. But what else? I'm trying to think what I haven't covered. Hmm. So we moved into a trailer park after the rental home. And, again, throughout that relationship, I had men constantly trying to touch on me. Every time her daddy left the room, they were trying to feel on me, touch on me, rape me, what have you. So he ends up leaving, and I'm left there for 3 months alone. I'd have to walk to the grocery store, come back, dropping groceries all over the ground. In particular, my friend Ronnie had come to check on me one night in particular. And he was standing at the sink washing dishes. When I looked over in the bay front window, again, I hadn't been high, nothing. I had just been there alone and I wouldn't leave the couch. And I saw men's faces start appearing in the bay front window of this trailer. And what spooked me is when I saw them, they were like this. It was that same expression that night that her daddy had on his face when we saw those shadow figures. Today, I think God was showing me a vision of men who had lost their souls to the devil. Perhaps why I had seen that, I do not know. I cannot tell you. But anyway, this is basically my own testimony. And again, today, my goal is to start my life over, to change my life completely back the way it was. And that's what I plan to do. That's what I'm going to do. Again, the book is called The See-Through Veil, and it's with iUniverse Publishing. Thank you.